drunk when I wake up, on the right side of the wrong bed, and never an excuse I made up to tell you the truth. I hate what didn't kill me, it never made me stronger at all.
Ed, right there. Hey Ed, how you doing? Thank you very much. Thank you. Well, hello everybody. It's Saturday night. Welcome to the Jonathan Ross Show. I am loving the X Factor this year. You enjoying the X Factor? Yeah. Here's my favourite, Rylan. Of course, it's got to be Rylan. There you go. Whereas I like to think of him, cry hard with a vengeance. There was controversy last week, of course, with rumours of vote rigging. Did you see that picture of the producer talking to Louis Walsh? Yeah. There you go, very suspicious, but no. Wasn't actually suspicious. Louis Walsh just got confused. He thought the producer whispered Rylan in his ear, but the producer was pointing at Louis' hair and saying, nylon, we think it's nylon. To be honest, they're going to have to keep Rylan anyway, because no one's going to want to deal with that if he's voted off. Can you imagine? It took him 3 days to recover when he ran out of bronzer. And if you think Rylan's annoying, just thank your lucky stars he doesn't have a twin, because imagine if there were two of them, Redwood. Imagine that. Ladies, would you like to see an Australian hunk lying out in all his glory there? OK, I warn you, he's hot stuff and he knows it. Here he is. I promise we haven't enhanced that photo. We didn't change him. That is how that kangaroo chooses to lie around. He knows he's got it going on, doesn't he? Look at that. OK? That is one cool kangaroo. Either that or Shane Warne has finally had too much work done. OK, we do have a packed show, as always, but I'm thrilled with our musical guest. He's not just going to perform live, he's going to chat to us as well. It's Ed Sheeran, ladies and gentlemen.
Maybe I'll get drunk again. I'll be drunk again. I'll be drunk again. Feel a little love.
That's a talented young man right there. Thank you, Ed. Gonna have some fun later on. Let's see who else is on the show tonight. My first guest is an author, he's a comedian, he's an actor, and he is one of the best known and best loved fundraisers in the country. It's David Walliams. Hello, David. Look how smiley you are.
Oh, thank you.
David, contrary to what you might expect, is married to a genuine supermodel, the beautiful Lara. That's a lovely thing. I'm thrilled for you, and it's a lovely union then. It means, of course, they have to have a massive walk-in wardrobe at home, so there's room for all the suits belonging to David and all the dresses belonging to David. David Walliams, ladies and gentlemen, he's on the show. I'm thrilled he's here, the lovely David Walliams. OK, my next guest, bizarrely, is fresh from this week's Tory party conference. OK, you might think that's a little out of character for us, but you will understand when I tell you it is the fabulous Charlotte Church. So, Charlotte, you were out there, you were talking at the conference.
Yes.
This is because you were up before the Leverson inquiry earlier this year, or the year before, wasn't it?
Yes, basically. I was there on behalf of Hacked Off and kind of everybody it represents, which was fun. It was such fun.
Oh, so Hacked Off is part of that? I thought Hacked Off was something to do with Boris Johnson's hair. No. I didn't realise...
No.
Ladies and gentlemen, Charlotte Church will be out here chatting a bit later on. My next guest is the Duchess of Dagenham, the Empress of Essex, the Lady of Loughton, the Princess of Plaistow, the Baroness of Billericay. It is Stacey Solomon. Actually, Stacey's lovely to see you. I should have checked earlier. You are... I gave you that big roll call there, but you are actually from Essex, aren't you?
Yeah, oh, yeah.
Your accent is, your way of speaking is so distinct, isn't it?
So lovely, isn't it?
Oh, I like it. Have you
Charming.
ever... Do you ever disguise it? If you phone someone up, I imagine if you phoned a call centre or someone, they would know immediately it was you.
All the time. Sometimes I ring up, like, Topshop or somewhere, and I'm like, oh, have you got this jumper? And they go, is that Stace? Scary.
Stacey Solomon, ladies and gentlemen. Shut your eyes, you couldn't be anyone else. Before we get the guests out, let me just tell you this story. I love this story. I saw it in the papers the other night. A pair of elderly gardeners gained the attention of the police this week because a big bush that they had bought at a car boot sale and taken home, an exotic plant, and tended lovingly over the years in their back garden, turned out to be a cannabis plant. Okay? According to, much like that one right there. Okay? It was a huge cannabis plant, the biggest that Bedford police had ever seen, they said. They couldn't believe how big it was. They even called a gardening expert to check it out. And his verdict... awesome weed. Look at that, he looks off his tits there, doesn't he? But that could happen to anyone. It was an innocent mistake. These old folks, they didn't know it was a cannabis plant. You wouldn't know a cannabis plant if you saw one, would you, Ed?
No.
Could happen to anyone. You go to a garden centre, you come back with something you don't know what it is. For example, I bought this lovely vase the other day. And it was only when I got it home that I realised that it had been used by other people. And this delightful, I've got this lovely, I've got this incense burner here. Okay, quite innocent. They sold me this incense to go with it. I tell you what. Oh, Ed's interested in that.
My gran's watching this, man.
Is she? Can she roll one that big? Let's get my first guest out. He is one of the funniest men on the planet. He's also a lovely guy. It's Mr. David Walliams. Here he is.
Thank you for having me on.
It's lovely to have you. Come and sit down. Get yourself comfy. I'm great. And you know why I'm feeling very relaxed and happy? Because I've had you on before and you're one of my dream guests.
Oh, really?
Yeah, because you're funny, but you're also smart and you've done so much with your life in a comparatively short space of time that it's easy to talk to you.
I'm 21. So that's a lot in.
21 on each side. David has a book out, and it's just out now. You may well have seen some of the stories. It's been already reported in various newspapers. Certain things have been picked up on in particular. It's called Camp David.
Tell me about that.
and there are a lot of surprises in it. Perhaps the biggest surprise is you are straight.
Okay? Which I didn't know till I read the book.
But you do talk about in there actually questioning yourself and wondering whether you were straight or gay, which path you were going to take in life, or which path was predestined for you.
Yes. Well, let's start with that. Well, I didn't have a girlfriend till I was, like, 21.
But that is not... I mean, because you weren't necessarily a kind of an outgoing guy, were you? You were sort of... Not nerdy is the wrong word, but you were a stay-at-home kind of person.
Yes, I wasn't very outgoing, really quite shy as well. So I think this exhibitionism probably masked the shyness.
So when you were young, you couldn't do this, and now you do it perhaps a little too much.
Too much, yeah. No, but the book is very honest, and, you know, I've read lots of my friends' autobiographies. Russell Brand. Do you know Russell Brand?
No.
No. Yeah, James Corden.
I know him.
Rob Brydon.
Yeah.
So I read, you know, all those books, and I think, you know, the best parts of all those books are when people are being completely and utterly honest. And if you're very truthful and you make yourself very vulnerable, I think that can only be a good thing.
I mean, you call it Camp David, you said, but you were quite camp as a youngster. You always were, what's the word, flouncy, or you liked performing in that kind of way, didn't you?
Well, when I was in junior school, there's a very popular programme on called Wonder Woman. And I used to play Wonder Woman in the playground. So because she had a little... May I listen?
Please, let's see.
Because when she would change into Wonder Woman, do-do-do, like that.
Yeah, you've got the little everything.
And I used to play Wonder Woman. I didn't think anything of it, because when you're young, and I was at an all-boys school, really up to the age of 16, you know, you don't really realise...
Well, there's a picture of you there looking... I mean,
looking pretty hot.
Well, we should point out to younger viewers, these were the days before Photoshop, so you couldn't do anything about it.
I was in the CCF.
What's the CCF?
The combined cadet force that you have at some schools.
That's so it's like a kind of naval thing.
Well, no, you get to choose between Army, Air Force and Navy. What do you think I chose?
Hello, sailor?
Correct. Because I thought it would be a good opportunity to camp about, and I was right.
But didn't you get in trouble for your camping about in this naval cadets?
I did, because I looked at all my old school reports, so there were lots saying, you know, I was being, you know, too disruptive. But yes, I did get told off for not taking that seriously.
Something about your marching.
I can't help the way I march. Well, no, because it was all sort of...
Regimented.
There was lots of sort of standing around, and it's easy just to do something. Just to make it. And then when you have to march, it's easy just to go...
That's pretty good. That's pretty good. That's pretty good.
Because at that point, I was just desperate for any opportunity to perform.
And so, did you not think as a kid, though, that you could go into performing? Because you obviously were finding opportunities in areas which weren't legitimate.
Yes, and that's why I was probably very annoying.
Yeah.
Because someone who constantly is seeking attention is actually quite annoying, even if they are a little bit entertaining.
How did you then go from being, by your own words there, slightly irritating occasionally, desperate to perform, camp, but enjoying the attention? How did you go from just being that to being someone who understands comedy, writes great comedy, and has made a career of comedy? That's what I think is a lot of people find very interesting and informative, but is the work you put in. Tell us about that journey.
Well, it's a long journey, but I think the most important part of it, and the reason I'm here today, is because of Matt Lucas. Meeting Matt Lucas is a comedy genius, and so I met him in 1990, and that's really, I think, when I kind of really realised what I wanted to do, because I wanted to work with him, and we formed this great double act. But it was a long journey through writing for children's TV. One of my first jobs was writing for Ant and Dec. They had a show,
We have a picture of you here with Ant and Dec, and you won't believe how young David is, but look at Ant and Dec, you forget.
They're so sweet.
Did they not have any child labour laws in the north of England?
But at the time when I first met them, because you know people say can't tell them apart, so I had a thing in my head, so it's Hant and Dec. The one wearing a hat is Hant equals Ant. Hat and Ant equals Hand and Dec. But now, Ant doesn't wear the hat, so it's very hard
Very
to
difficult
tell
for
them
you.
apart.
I just remembered that they have different faces.
They do.
They are lovely. They are.
I
You must
loved
have
them.
enjoyed
I
working with them.
loved working with them, but I used to really... I was quite naughty in the script meetings, because I used to I was kind of bored sometimes, and to amuse them, I would just draw obscene drawings on the scripts and then pass them to them. And this is carried on to this day. Recently, we were all staying in the same hotel in Los Angeles, and I was passing obscene pictures under Ant's door. And then he started passing obscene ones under mine. And I've got a framed picture at home that Ant drew.
What's on it? What is
well,
it?
Well, me, Ant and Dec, with all huge erections.
Wow.
How much would that be worth in years to come?
You know what? It doesn't sound to me like that's joking so much as a cry for help.
From me or them?
I think from all three of you. You're very honest in the book about, and this is the thing that people have picked up on in the papers, about the periods of depression you've had. And I was amazed when I read that, because I knew that you'd had some ups and downs, like everyone did, and I knew you'd had some upsetting times, because I haven't known you for that long, really. I mean, what, 10 years, I guess. And even though I knew you'd gone through some upsetting times, I didn't know that they had affected you quite as deeply and quite as gravely, as is clear from reading your book now. How comfortable are you with that being out there? And did you have to... Were there people in your life who weren't aware of that to that extent yet, or were there...
Well, there are things
surprised?
in this book that I hadn't told anybody, but I kept a diary through a lot of my adult life, so I had a very, accurate account of how I was thinking and feeling at that time. But I thought... but even through just the book being in newspapers, I've had a terrific response from the public and friends and people who say, yes, I've been through this, or I know someone who's been through this. So, I don't think it's anything to be ashamed of. It's just because it's mental health. People are uncomfortable with it. If I was talking about dealing with a, physical disease, I think it would be seen differently. But I just think, why would you agree to do a book unless you were going to be honest in it? But the onus is not on you to do that, because you can see a lot of people have got books out and they're just, words on a page.
When you were writing those sections, though, and obviously you had your diary to go back to, and in one section of the book, there's the diary that kind of kicks off a period of upset that leads to a deep depression. Was it difficult for you to re-experience it in that way?
It was, because of course you remember all these things that happen in your life, but when you're trying to write it down to communicate it to other people, you really have to think about, you have to set the scene and everything. So at times I was writing the book and I was in tears at things that happened 10 years ago, 20 years ago, 30 years ago. But, everyone's life has, pain in it, and I do too, and I'm just giving an honest account of it.
You're obviously quite adept at compartmentalising those kind of things, or you were then? You kept it away from some people, or, you know, maybe you wanted other people to know, but I mean, I know there's one instance where your mum comes to you after you've been in hospital and says, you must promise never to do this again. And the fact she didn't know you were heading towards that, are you more open now with your feelings with those around you? I mean, your life is very different anyway.
Yeah, I think I'm in a much happier place, and also, you know, I